Još pamtim onaj dan kad si otišla u ljeto 80. Kiša je padala 7 godina sam te čekao. Svaki mi je telefon nadu budio. Neka ljubi se, istok i zapad. Neka ljubi se, sjever i jug. Skini prašinu sa starog kofera i krenimo na put. Hajde budi mi drug, sve je uzalud. Rušio se most, drugovi su žalili moju strpljivost. O Bože, predugo je mrak, daj mi svjetlosti i neka počne na tvoj znak doba nježnosti. Neka ljubi se, istok i zapad. Neka ljubi se, sjever i jug. Skini prašinu sa starog kofera i krenimo na put. Hajde budi mi drug.
Alright. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, now there I created an echo. Awesome. I am so tech savvy. I'm like a boomer. Alright, bueno. Cannot make much sound. How's the microphone sounding? Could be a little better now. Bueno. We'll see. One second, let me check this. 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 Okay, so there is like echo. Alright. Wait, let me try to figure this out. Hey, I'm still a newbie in this, okay? Give me a break. Video capture. Mic. Okay, hey, my mic should be just one, right? Okay, it seems like it's the mic is good. Okay, it seems like it's the mic is good. But now music. Okay, it seems like it's the mic is good. But now music.
Der vom Westen kommt, zu kopieren müssen. Dinge genossen mit der Monotonie des Je und wie das alles heißt, ja, sollte man doch Schluss machen.
Isn't it twice? Oh wait, no, that makes sense because I'm listening to myself. Too much technology going on. Alright, my autism just kicked in, sorry. Okay, let's put this music down. We can start. I like this much more. I feel like a DJ here. Oh, sorry, I was muted. I'm like a boomer. Doesn't matter. Okay, what are we gonna talk about today? What are we gonna talk about? What's going on in the world? Anything cool happened in the last few hours? I just realized that my door opened. Give me 1 second. Where's the stream? I'm back. There we go. Alright. Let's get to this. Do we have a chat? Any people in the chat? Any chatters? No chatters. How are we doing? Let me just zoom this real quick. Oh. That's much better. There we go. What is happening? I am still figuring this out, alright? I'm sorry. Let me just figure out how to get the... Hello, Damao Mao. Damao Mao. How's your day going? What happened in Iran? Uh-oh. I hate to be the bringer of bad news. Wait, tell me if I feel like the music is too loud. But last night was a big night, unfortunately, for those against illegitimate invasions, because Iran has been attacked by Israel and the US last night. The US attacked Israel, which is interesting because, I mean, we knew they were gonna do it kind of through Israel, right? But they decided to like do it in collaboration. They did like a like a collab, you know, which is quite interesting. Usually when the U.S. wants to get something done in the Middle East, unless it's like a direct attack on American soil where they feel like they need to get their hands dirty, they just send Israel, right? That's ah shit. Sorry, the voice is double. All right, let me fix that. Let me fix that. Sorry, I'm still new to this. Why is the voice double? Wait, give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm still new to this. Oh, there we go. It is double. Motherfucker. Ah, I got it. Like this and like this now. Wait, alright, let me check now. Wait. Let me check. Let me check. Alright, sounds like now is good. Perfect. Sorry, I got like 3 monitors open here. I feel like a fucking Batman. Music? Is this it? Okay, perfect. Now it works. I had to mute one thing. Alright, great, perfect. Now we're here. We're back. So, where was I? Hello, Moot. Hello, Anti-Skay. How's your day been? We got 2 viewers in the chat. Amazing. So, Iran, right? It was an interesting occurrence because we kind of felt like it was gonna happen. I mean, the U.S. has been sending troops into the area. I mean, they've been sending their entire arsenal. I think what was it, like 60% of their military power has been sent like to the borders of Iran. They did the same thing with Venezuela right before they invaded in January, right? In like the 1st of January. So, you know, we could predict that this was gonna happen. Thing is, it's just interesting that like usually when the US gets their hands dirty, and we have Trump's announcement about this, so we can look at it real quick right now. Usually when the US gets their hands dirty in the Middle East, they just send Israel. They just send their puppet dog to the Middle East, right? That's what Israel is. That's what it's been created to do, right? It's been created to install American supremacy in the Middle East, right? Israelis, they get their little ethno-state in the area, and in return they need to act as a satellite for the US. It's a clear deal, right? It's been like this since more or less the 70s, right? 70s, 80s. If not earlier, right? But this time, I mean, Trump took full pride in it being an American attack, right? It was in collaboration, of course, because Israel is just a military arsenal for the United States, but they took pride in it. They're getting their hands dirty. So what do we think? What do we think of the news? Have we seen it? I mean, I'm pretty sure we have. I didn't expect to stream today. I wanted to do it tomorrow because we have a bunch of news from just like the last few weeks that I didn't get to cover. But then this happened. I wake up a little hungover and I look at Twitter and I see this and I'm immediately like, fuck. Gotta go to work. Gotta go back to work. Alright. Well, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Let's check Twitter. You know, our safe space, Twitter. Alright. Let me just turn this off for a second. Let's see how this looks. Ah, shit. We froze. No, we froze. God damn it. Alright, give me a second. I am not a professional in this. Give me just 1 second. Let me put the music back up and I'll be right back.
лишь меня. А ночью звезды бледнеют от твоих огней. И нет мне неба роднее, нет земли родней.
There we go. That's me. There we go. There we go. Alright. Perfect. Small technical difficulty. Alright. Let's actually jump into what we gotta talk about today. I mean, we are here to chat about politics now. So what is happening? What is happening? What is happening is that the U.S. struck Iran, right? They haven't launched a land invasion just yet, right? And they need that to actually change the regime. I mean, the U.S. administration has openly been confrontational to the Iranian regime and showed its intent to overthrow the Ayatollah regime. But even as there are mass protests happening in Iran against the theocracy for the last few months-ish, now it's kind of died down, but last month it was quite big. Or last month meaning like January. They cannot just launch a few strikes and expect the regime to fall, right? So I think this is so far an intimidation tactic, but the Iranian regime has struck back. I keep using regime too much. Let's look at some of this, right? So if we look up just what happened in Iran, let's look at this. If we look at what just happened in, Iran, I don't know why my video shows up, whoops, latest in Iran. Okay, if you follow Al Jazeera a little bit.
Since the morning hours when Israel launched an attack against Iran, along with the United States. In the hours of the morning, Israelis have been basically keeping either in the shelter or close to public shelters or private safe rooms across Israeli territory. The central area of Israel, the Tel Aviv area, the Haifa area, also at the coast have been the ones most affected by these sirens and by these warnings. And we have reports that Israel has suspended gas excavation activities in the coastal area because of the situation. An emergency, of course, has been declared since the morning, and so all activities except those essential have been suspended. People are staying home and hunkering down, waiting for further instructions. So far, no casualties recorded in Israel or in the occupied West Bank, where several incidents of shrapnel falling in Palestinian territory have been confirmed.
Al Jazeera's Noura Day reporting live from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Some breaking news: the UN Security Council is due to meet later on Saturday over what's happening today in the Middle East. These US and Israeli attacks on Iran and Iran's retaliation across the region. My colleague Zain Baswadi is live for us in Doha. I told you a few moments ago about another series of booms, pretty loud booms that we were hearing here in the studio. Intercepted.
So as you can see, the situation is still very much developing. I mean, this happened literally this morning, and we don't even know the total number of casualties. As we just saw, there seems to be no casualties in Israel as of now, even though Iran retaliated against Israel, sending striking Tel Aviv, nearly like an hour after the initial strike on Iran early this morning. But Iran has had casualties. At least, talking in classic Israeli fashion, 50 people, 50 children more specifically, in a girls' school, in the city of Minab, the south of the country, south of Iran, killed about 50 schoolgirls. In classic Israeli fashion, killing kids, you know. That's what happened this morning. So far, we know these casualties. We know that this is so far the estimate. Workers are continuing to clear wreckage from the site, where about 63 people were injured on Saturday. Said Iran, right? So 63 people injured, at least 53 people killed so far from these strikes. What else happened? Well, change here. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi shared a photo of the attack, which he said destroyed the girls' school and killed innocent children. Yeah, we have a photo there. I mean, with the kind of technology that Israel has, it would be a surprise to me if it was not deliberate. Right? I mean, meaning that they have targeting technology. Right? The Israeli state has targeting technology. I mean, the kind of military equipment that we have these days is insanely precise, which makes it even more ridiculous when we see, you know, people like Bob Hexeth talk about the fog of war, like, some innocent people are gonna die because it's the fog of war, and you know, I mean, yes, when it's a ground operation, in many times, like, of course, innocent people are killed unintentionally. But when it's this kind of initial attack from the side of Israel on the Iranian population, they chose the targets. They chose the kind of targets where they chose the targets where they're gonna strike. So I don't think that this was accidental, that a school got hit during this strike. If we look at Al Jazeera, because Al Jazeera is reporting on this like live, they have updates every few minutes. There's a map of what was of the initial strike this morning, if I can find it. No, this is Oman. Wow, I checked it this morning and there's so much more now. This is what I'm looking for, right? So these were the strikes done by the US government and Israeli in mutual cooperation. Of course, Tehran, the capital of Iran, got the most bombardment, but we can see that it was not just limited to Tehran, right? Which is a little bit of a difference from what we see, what happened in Venezuela. The attack was mostly just the capital of Venezuela, which Caracas? Right. I didn't forget. Mostly just the capital, Caracas, which was hit during the invasion of Venezuela, because it was simply just an operation to get Maduro out and arrested. Which still destabilized the country extremely, right? And while it didn't exactly change anything internally within Venezuela, it is going to have grave consequences on trust, order, and especially, as we can see now, trade. Right? Trade being like U.S. essentially blackmailing a lot of Latin American countries to stop selling, for example, to Cuba, because they threatened them with the same kind of operation they conducted in Venezuela, right? But this seems to be a little different. this seems to be this. I mean, not to say that what happened in Venezuela was good or permissible. It was not. But this seems to be escalating towards an all-out war. A war which I don't know if the US and Israel can afford. What do we think? What do we think? Sorry, I'm just focusing this. There we go. Let's check some more news. We got what happened literally not even about an hour ago. A statement from Trump about what happened this morning. Let's watch it together. I love how he calls it major combat operations. Just say invasion. We cannot let that happen. People can't say death to America. That's freedom of speech. We don't like that. That happened like 40 years ago, man. Shut the fuck up. Yes. I'm surprised you remember that shit. He probably got some kind of screen in front of him. Many died. Sorry, I gotta fucking interrupt. That happened decades ago, right? I understand that Americans are not smart. I know that he is just lying. I mean, he's not lying, but he is, he's not fully truthful. Dictatorships are allowed to happen. We may not be happy about it, right? We can be pro-democracy, we can be advocates for democratization of the country, but dictatorships are allowed to happen. Dictatorships, in fact, are allowed to happen by the USA. Dictatorships, in fact, have been propped up by the USA in the last several decades, right? Since World War II, the US has propped up probably about 30 dictatorships all around the world, just so they serve the interests of the US, right? And then they turn around and blame communists or Muslims or whoever they deem ideologically different, but usually not different ideologically necessarily, but just going against the US interests, then they turn around and say that they are dictators and they need to be get rid of, right? Ayatollah is not, or to the US, Ayatollah and the Iranian regime is not bad because it's a dictatorship. They don't give a shit about dictatorships. Look at Pinochet. Look at the Saudis. Look at the Emirati kings. Right? They're all dictators. They're all theocrats, in fact. Pinochet was a military dictator. Franco in Spain. God damn it, the camera's out again. One second. I'm on a rant and the goddamn camera decides to fuck me. There we go. Sorry. We're back. Franco was a military fascist dictatorship. Pinochet was a propped-up military dictatorship by the US and the British. Right? The US does not give a shit about dictatorships. I've said it many times before in my older videos, but it's not about dictatorship. The only reason that the US is doing what it's doing right now is because of private interests. It has private interests in the area, more specifically minerals and oil. Right? There's also the Israeli expansionist project of Greater Israel, which Israel wants to do, and well, it's a colonization project, and the US will allow it to happen as long as Israel is a local satellite state, a little puppy that does what the US wants in the area. So there's that, but it's also got just fully to do with capital, once again, right? Resources, just like it was in Venezuela, just like it is now in Iran. Iran holds extremely rich minerals and oil and natural gas that the US corporations want to get their hands on. It's as simple as that, right? But because the Iranian regime has been, antagonistic, or at least don't allow U.S. corporations, U.S. companies to enter into Iran, simply because of different politics, simply because it doesn't. It's nobody can obligate you to not trade with the other person, but the U.S. does not like that. It wants to have free trade with everybody, right? And while Iran is not communist, it stopped trading with the US, and because the US wants what is on Iranian territory, sooner or later they're gonna come to get it, right? And that's why they have been building up this giant narrative for the last 20, 30 years of Iran developing weapons of mass destruction, even though there is no proof of that happening. Even if it did, they have absolutely the right to do so, especially in today's unipolar world, where the US is essentially deciding for everyone what to do. Everybody else has to demilitarize except us. Everybody else, or nobody else, can have nuclear weapons except us. Right? It's this mass hypocrisy which the US has been doing for its entire fucking existence, or at least since World War I, World War II, where it became a major superpower. It decided to start playing this hypocritical optics game where they try to look like the good guys, try to look like the world police, but then they start dictating other countries what to do, but they don't hold up their end of the bargain. Why does this happen every time I hit the table? Man. Alright, well, you're having a frozen Simon for a second. I know I'm kind of just yapping right now. I'm kind of yapping. I'm a yapper, alright? But this pisses me off. Alright. There we go. Let's continue watching this old fuck try to convince the population that we need to go to war with Iran. By the way, no new wars president, right? No new wars. That Donald Trump infamously ran on a no new wars ticket, right? His whole shtick was, I'm gonna be the most peaceful president, I'm gonna end the wars and I'm not gonna start any new wars. And he's been in office since fucking 1 year now. And not only has he continued helping Israel, the assault on Gaza, to absolutely decimate it, but he also like is actively starting at least 2 wars in this year, in the last 2 months. 3 almost, but you know, insane. Insane.
October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our...
I just realized I was fucking heard double again. That sucks.
Brutal. Something like the world has never seen before.
Wait, what did he say?
Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor.
Ah, shut the fuck up.
Hostage. It was brutal. While taking 12 of our citizens hostage.
Again, that happened in the 80s.
Brutal. Something like the world has never seen before.
Yes, it has.
Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon.
We heard you the first time, Don.
In Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated
This administration and their names.
Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice.
They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to do it. What did they want to do again?
As for decades and decades, they rejected
The thing about state-sponsored terrorism is like hilarious to listen to, right? Especially coming from the mouth of Trump. But it doesn't matter if it's coming from the mouth of Trump or Clinton or Harris or Bush or whoever. They've been repeating the same hypocritical line for decades, right? State-sponsored terrorism. State-sponsored terrorism. It's the #1 state-sponsored terrorism, right? The United States is responsible for, since the Nazis, probably the most amount of human suffering on this planet through just their proxy of massacres and extermination campaigns and wars that they didn't have to be in since World War II, right? Nazis are the stereotypical evil. But for some reason, US decided to take up that torch after the Nazis, but somehow also perfected the art of propaganda, making themselves look like the good guys while they go into Vietnam and slaughter hundreds of thousands, while they go into Iraq, while they go into Guatemala, Nicaragua, Afghanistan, wherever, right? Chile. They do it through their proxies often. Sometimes it's their own boots on the ground. Sometimes they do it through working with other intelligence services or special operations in other, like special operations of, let's say, Bolivia, right? But it's still the CIA. It is still the United States government, somehow always involved in other parts of the world, doing the most inhumane shit imaginable. Let's not forget that it's the US that created Israel. They didn't create them in its like first moments. Sure, it was the British to blame for that mostly, but Israel, the way that we know it today, with the firepower they have, the unlimited support, and the training, the military training, that came from the US. You know, Israelis are vicious, evil animals, but let's not forget who made them that way, right? So if we're gonna talk about state sponsors of terrorism, fuck me, man. I don't know how you can say that. Not even, like, and the ceasefire also means nothing, as we see Gaza is still being torn down, bombarded, right? Not even mentioning parts of the West Bank. But I don't know how you can say this line about state-sponsored terrorism not even a year after the Gazan genocide, which you have fully supported and actually accelerated. It's just pure deliberate hypocrisy. It's disgusting, but people will eat that shit up, you know? Because Iran is Muslim, it's Arabic, they dress differently, they speak a different language. So it's easier to dehumanize, it's easier to see, hey, look, these guys, they don't look like you, you know? They're animals, they want to kill you. It's easier to do that than to realize that it's actually people that kind of look like you that are the biggest animals. Anyway, let's continue this guy.
To renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore.
We can't take it.
Instead, they
How
attempt
can't you
to
take it anymore?
build their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to...
We don't need to imagine that, bro. We don't need to imagine that. We got Russia. We got North Korea. All of these are enemies of the US, right? But are we seeing nuclear war? No, because nobody fucking wants nuclear war. The only reason why countries, rightfully so, militarize to the point of developing weapons of mass destruction, and I'm not saying that we should have weapons of mass destruction. I am against nuclear weapons. But I'm saying, from a political standpoint, it is entirely understandable for Iran to develop a nuclear arsenal. When you look at the history of the US, but it doesn't just have to be the US, but if we just look specifically on the US, there's a good argument to be made to have nuclear weapons if you are a country, because the US does not touch you if you have a nuclear weapon, right? There are so many countries that the US would love to overthrow, right? Russia is much more militarily capable, but if we look at North Korea, there's not that many countries that have a nuclear weapon, but North Korea has, I remember when I was a kid, US wanted to overthrow that country badly, right? Or even China, right? Now it's a lot more difficult because the world is reliant on China. But historically speaking, if you have a nuclear weapon, the US does not fuck with you. It does not invade you, right? They may put sanctions on you and all that good stuff, right? Economic warfare, but they will not touch you. They will not invade you. The only reason they can is because you have no way of fighting back. And they do. But the moment you have nuclear weapons, the US will not dare. They will not. They don't want to escalate it either. Nobody wants a nuclear war. Iran does not want nuclear war. If they are developing weapons of mass destruction, which is very unlikely given that only like 6 months ago the US completely destroyed their scientific nuclear research program facility or something like that. I forgot what that was. So I don't think that they have like caught up and like made some fucking great progress all of a sudden. Even if they are making it, they don't do it out of want. They do it out of necessity. If I were a fucking dictator, I would do so as well. Because that means that nobody can touch you. If I were a democracy, I would do so as well, right? Developing weapons of mass destruction is not some kind of dictator dictatorship thing. It's just you do that because it gives you higher status, it gives you more power, and it does not mean like necessarily hard power on the international stage. It gives you more negotiating power, right? Soft power, not soft. That's not soft power. Yeah, more negotiating power on the world stage, because all of a sudden, when you have someone like Trump, but it doesn't have to be Trump, because we've had fucking horrible wars with Bush, Clinton, Obama, right? It doesn't have to be this guy. Because then people like this, presidents of the biggest empire in the world, will simply think twice before invading you, right? The US is not thinking, well, they are thinking twice a little bit more because Iran has decent military capabilities, so they are being very, very prepared, right? Or very cautious with how they attack Iran. But if you look at Venezuela, they did not think twice. They didn't think twice about invading Venezuela because they didn't have to. Because what is Venezuela gonna do? Right? Is it illegal? Yes. It was illegal. But as we can see, he doesn't give a fuck. But if Venezuela had nuclear weapons, even just one, you need more than one now, but even just one, the US would not do what they did. That's just the truth. The truth. Let's keep watching this.
For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship threatening America and our core.
Who is he speaking to here? Who is the target audience? I know there's a bunch of fuck-ass, stupid right-wingers out there, but like liberals know he's full of shit already, but they also are against the Iranian theocracy, right? Like, they are against it. They just, liberals usually don't immediately go the invadatory route unless absolutely, like, they have some kind of a better justification. That's not to say that liberals don't want to invade Iran. They absolutely do. But they usually make up a better excuse than just this, right? So I wonder, who is this for? His own base? The base that you promised to no new wars? Are people genuinely like, is their attention span and their memory so short-circuited?
Destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces.
That's great.
I built
this is
and rebuilt
amazing.
our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now, we're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms, you will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's insane. I mean, just so plainly blackmailing a country into submission. The might makes right type of rhetoric is concerning. Not because we didn't expect it, not because it really changes how the world's been run until now. I'm not saying that shit's gonna be the same. I mean, we are slowly developing into a new international order, which is much less diplomatic and much more hard power imperialist. As we can see, the US is just deciding to take and grab and change regimes wherever it deems necessary. What I'm not saying that like the rhetoric scares me, because the rhetoric is like the last thing, right? First the events happen and then slowly the rhetoric changes. So like it's just openly saying what's been happening for several years now, right? Especially since Gaza was kind of that threshold that broke the entire internet, or at least broke the illusion of some kind of an international order, some kind of international justice, international procedures, diplomacy. So like this is just rhetoric. This is just this is not necessarily like a huge thing what he's saying. What it's just interesting to see it. Full face, submit, give up, right? Resign, or you will be killed. There is no diplomatic process. It's literally, it's not even like Russia invaded Ukraine 4 years ago, right? I mean, that was what I wanted to also talk about a little bit today. But when they were doing it, they came up with an excuse, right? Even Russia, which, I mean, has been an oligarchy, dictatorship for a while. It's been an imperialist country, but even they needed to create that soft power propaganda image, rather for the rest of the world, or mostly for their own population, for the Ukrainians, right? They needed to come up with some kind of a, hey guys, we are reasonable, you know? But Trump is not doing it. He's not necessarily creating any soft power propaganda. He's not really creating any propaganda anymore. Or he is creating the basis for the invasion. That is definitely propaganda. He is definitely making shit up, right? But his ends, right, are different. So where maybe Russia would say, oh, this region belongs to us because of ethnicity, language, whatever. It doesn't really open war with another country. It doesn't say, hey, this country, I'm gonna kill you if you don't surrender, right? That is something that hasn't really been heard since fucking forever, man. Yeah.
Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered, don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take
That's
over
insane.
your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do
Uh.
tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So
That's
let's see
insane.
how you respond.
That is
America is
crazy.
back with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all.
And that was posted at about 2:30 a.m. Eastern time by the president. And since then, we saw, of course, the strike across many cities in Iran and the retaliatory strikes across several states and countries there in the region. The UAE reporting that one person was killed by debris falling from one of the intercepts of a ballistic missile from Iran. Let's talk now about the political implications of this operation with Errol Lewis, political anchor for Spectrum News and the host of The Big Deal with Errol Lewis. Errol, good morning to you. And before we get into those specific elements, let's back up.
All right, let's look at this right now. 1 second, I just lost it. There we go. Let's go on Twitter. What do we got
I'm
here?
here just to focus on everyone needs to sort of digest the idea that we're in uncharted waters right now. I think it's really important here just to focus on what President Trump himself said were the goals of this campaign, which are extremely maximalist. He says that the U.S. is going to annihilate Iran's navy. It's going to wipe out its missile industry. It's going to prevent Iran from ever having a nuclear weapon. I mean, these are words of a president who is looking to wage a major conflict against Iran. Right now, again, we're seeing air and naval strikes against targets in Iran. But should dozens, hundreds of American or even Israeli casualties take place as a result of retaliation by Iran, it is not unreasonable to think the U.S. could actually have to feel the need to escalate. Everyone needs to sort of digest the.
And this is what they're counting on, right? I mean, they want Iran to react, so they make a legitimacy for a more major U.S.-Israeli invasion of Iran, because they are more than capable. But they know the optics of it. Well, I don't know if they know the optics of it. I mean, the optics already are not in their favor. People don't like Iran because of, it's a theocracy at the end of the day. It's not a democracy. It's brutal. It suppresses journalists, right? But people still recognize that no matter what the Iranian government does, how brutal it is, how undemocratic it is, how it silences people, kills people, tortures people, people still recognize that an invasion of a sovereign nation, especially an invasion that kills civilians, is not justified. People recognize that it is not up to an external force, an external country, to decide the fate of another country, right? For a long time, people accepted the US kind of as a cop, because even though it never really followed international order, it's still kind of like through the UN and through NATO seemed like it was going through some kind of a process. UN says this is illegal, and then US comes in and maybe overthrows the country, and they can be like, oh, it was illegal, It was like these guys were doing illegal shit. We are the cops. They never really said that they're the cops, but they always acted as the cops, right? At least like enforcers of international law. Because for a long time, international law was just made by the US for the US. And people were like, oh, okay, I guess. But now people recognize that this is just an invasion. People recognize what happened in Venezuela was just an invasion. There was no legitimacy. There was no breaking of law, right? Like the optics, the Trump administration is not good at that. is just not good at that soft power propaganda to groom people into accepting accepting an invasion. They're just not. Right, Bush was fucking great at that. Right? Like 9/11, oh fuck, you know? Jesus, you got all the power in the world, man. 2 towers go down, and I'm not saying that it was not tragic, right? It was a terrorist attack. But my god. How many people died that day? 10,000? Let me look it up. Let me get out of this. 9/11 total death toll. Less. 3,000 people. 3,000 people, which is a lot of people, and it's horrible, right? But that was enough for the US to not only launch a deadly, devastating, annihilatory invasion of Iraq based on a false pretense of weapons of mass destruction and it actually being behind 9/11, which it was not, but it enforced, because of this terrorist attack, it enforced its will on the rest of the world. And the whole reason why the Patriot Act was a lot stronger in the US, but the whole reason why the world is still to this day falling into this security state apparatus where everything is surveilled, everything is tracked, the government knows literally fucking everything about you. That was just accelerated and pushed by the US on the pretense of preventing terrorism. And it was just from 9/11. And that's Bush, man. Bush did all that. Sure, he wasn't alone, but he did that. Trump doesn't have that. He doesn't have the sauce. He doesn't know how to do it. Trump just thinks that he can just say this fucking shit. But there is no proof, there's no WMDs, there's no attack, it's just imperialism. It's classic old fucking 19th century imperialism. One that does not necessarily need to create soft power legitimacy. It's just power of might, power of the strongest. Alright, where were we? So we mentioned this, but Iran immediately struck back, retaliated. Let me check this. Alright. Multiple Arab states that host US assets targeted in Iran retaliation. Exactly right. I believe that the Emirates were targeted as well. They were I think Abu Dhabi, no? There we go. The Iranian government on Saturday confirmed its attack on several targets, according to the Fars, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the Emirates, right? Because those are all allies of the US. They hold, right, several US assets. So, just through proximity and trying to hurt the US as much as possible, they attack them as well, right? Not to mention Israel. If we look at the response. No, I don't have this. Tel Aviv was struck. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, but there's music. Breaking. Tel Aviv is burning at the moment. Jackson Hickle. Not the greatest guy to listen to, but hey. He shows you the stuff, right? So they immediately retaliated. They not only struck Tel Aviv, they also, I believe, struck several US Navy carriers. Okay, I hope this map is accurate. What Iran targeted in retaliation? Okay, this is good. This is a nice map. Wait, okay, this guy just made a whole story. Perfect. Alright, this morning the US and Israel started a large military operation. Iran retaliated and bombed 8 countries in the Middle East, right? All allies of the US. This is what we just watched. First explosion reported in Tehran and other Iranian cities. Okay. Strikes intensify in Iran. Potential areas. Iran launches first retaliatory wave. Okay, so they targeted. It's interesting that Tel Aviv is kind of like this, but they targeted all of these sites, which I believe, or I assume, are military sites. This is what I'm looking for. Iranian counter strikes expand to US allied bases. Exactly, right? Not only just the US, but also allied bases. I mean, this situation is developing right now, right? I don't even have anything really prepared because it just happened a few hours ago. Right? 15:30. Multiple Iranian strikes against US bases in the Middle East, as well as continuous US and Israeli strikes inside Iran, right? Like, this is happening right now. I just love how, like, cards are just still kind of going. Like, it's just business as usual. Yeah, it's weird because it's like start of a war, you know, very possibly, and clearly the US, the Trump administration is not looking for negotiations. It's very openly in this video shown that it's surrender or war, which the US does have fucking major firepower, but it's forgetting that Iran as well. I mean, let me look it up real quick, but military spending Middle East. I think Iran has one of the biggest military expenditures in the entire Middle East. I don't want China, I want the Middle East. By country. Of course, Israel is gonna be probably number 1, as okay, Turkey as well, right? Okay, well, this is from 3 years ago, so I don't think it's necessarily up to date. Okay, never mind. Saudi Arabia is in the toppest bracket. Estimated military expenditure in percent of the GDP. So in 2023, Saudi Arabia had between 7 and 9% of its GDP went to military expenditure. Contrasted by Israel, classic, Jordan, by about 3 to 7. Iran was quite low, which is interesting. Right, relatively low, right, falling behind Turkey, Israel, and Saudi Arabia going fucking insane. $80 billion. Of course, it has a lot of money, right? This is relative to the GDP of its own GDP, but the GDP of Saudi Arabia is insane, right? If you compare it in the billions, right? Iran is not as rich as Saudi Arabia, for example. Yep. Put some music. Sorry. Alright, well, if we look at the map, right? Iran targeted military bases. The US's military bases famously fucking everywhere, right? The global world police is the only country that has its own military bases in almost every country in the world. While it would be unprecedented for any other country to have a military base in the US. It's just a clear double standard right there, right? It has one in Israel, of course. It's got military bases all over Iraq and Saudi Arabia. Iraq is now a friend. Wait. Iraq, a country where there was war with them just a few decades ago. Now a friend of the US. Right. Same thing with Syria now. Syria seems to be neutral. It doesn't still allow military bases in, but they are slowly becoming a proxy. You know, but we have UAE and Saudi Arabia. It's yeah. United Arab Emirates. So these are all the countries that Iran targeted, right? Of course, Israel, because it was a joint operation of U.S. and Israel against Iran, but also Bahrain, naval support activity, right? Bahrain, right here. Qatar, Emirates, Kuwait, Jordan. U.S. air bases, missiles intercepted, strikes confirmed by Oman. Saudi Arabia, yeah. And then the U.S. Multiple bases in the Middle East, right? Of course, I mean, the U.S. has not been struck, but its military bases in the Middle East have. Insane. What are the results? Damage to key Iranian targets. Supreme leader Ali Khamenei. Oh fuck. Compound in Tehran heavily damaged. Casualties in Iran. Casualties in Iran. Dozens killed and wounded in sudden strikes. 70 killed and 90 wounded in Minab and Yazd. So at least 70 people have been killed by the strikes so far. This is as of 15 minutes ago. Status of key figures. President is alive. Ali Khamenei. Status unclear, conflicting. Really? That's actually insane. Supreme leader Ali Khamenei, which is the leader of Iran, says, alive as far as I know. Iranian FM. FM, I suppose, is finance minister. Alive as far as I know. Hey, we don't know where he is. Israeli sources say, likely killed or cut off from the contact. No public appearance yet. Shit. I mean, we know that they targeted like presidential palaces and key government buildings, but jeez, man. Regime change, final destruction of nuclear, destruction of Iranian Navy. Yeah, that's what Trump said that the goals are, right? Destroy the regime, destroy the nuclear program, and destroy the Navy. Which, yeah, you can just say that, you know? Hey, we don't like your military. Why? Nah. Because you oppose us. But oppose us in no significant way. Iran has not... That's the thing, when Trump was making this video, it was so clear that he was, like, clawing for straws. Because Iran has not been a threat to the US fucking forever. He had to go all the way back to the 80s and had to speak of the fucking embassy in Tehran. There's never been Iran boots on the ground in the US or an attack or a terrorist attack sponsored by them in the US. Iran is not an existential threat to the US, but the US is an existential threat to fucking everyone by now. What's more going on? I just really wanted to talk about this right now. I mean, there's so much more happening. I also wanted to just like come back, do a little stream, you know. Start making this a lot more regular. Also get a little bit more better at this. I'm not used to not having a script or something to say. I need to come up with stuff. I need to think. I don't like that sometimes. I really thought like we should talk about this. I wanted to get my thoughts out on it. It's still a developing situation, of course. Alright. Then we should also kind of talk about Cuba. Cuba is experiencing horrible conditions right now. But we might leave that for another day. I don't know. I just wanted to try this live stream and whoops, sorry. And see how it goes. Next time I'm gonna promote it a lot more. It's just that today I did not. I was not fully confident with how it would go. So I didn't promote it as much, but I wanted to see the quality, the audio. It was like, you know, a test. A good old test. So that's what it was. Next time we're gonna promote it a lot more. There's gonna be more people. And yeah, we will talk about other news. There's so much that has happened recently that I would like to talk about, but there's not that much time. So, I mean, yeah. Is anyone still here? No. Alright. I'm gonna leave it here. And yeah, perfect. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Der vom Westen kommt, nur kopieren müssen. Ich denke, genau
Bye bye.
mit der Monotonie des Je und wie das alles heißt, ja, sollte man doch Schluss machen.